Welcome to a different planet, Alalu Te'e said. Now this is the account of how Eridu on earth was established, how the count of 7 days was begun. In silence did Alalu'e embrace. With tears of joy his eyes were filled. Before him Ea bowed his head. Respect for his father by marriage he was showing. In the marshes the heroes were advancing. More donned fishes' suits. More toward the dry land were rushing. Keep the chariot afloat, Anzu was commanding. In the waters anchor it, the mud ahead avoiding. Ashore stepped the heroes. Before Alalu they were bowing. Ashore came Anzu, the last the chariot to depart. Before Alalu he bowed. With him Alalu in welcome locked arms. To all who had arrived, Alalu words of welcome spoke. To all who were assembled, Ea words of command spoke. Here on earth, I am the commander, he was saying. On a life or death mission we have come. In our hands is Nibiru's fate. He looked about. For a place for encampment he was searching. Heap up soil, mounds fashioned there. Ea gave command an encampment to set up. To a place not afar he was pointing, a reed hut abode by Alalu erected. To Anzu then words he directed, to Nibiru words by beaming deliver. To the king my father, Anu, successful arrival announce. Soon the hue of the skies was changing, from brightness to reddish it was, turning. A sight never seen before their eyes was unfolding, the sun as a red ball on. The horizon was disappearing. Fear seized the heroes of a great calamity, afraid they were. Alalu with laughter words of comfort was saying, a setting of the sun it is, the ending of one day on earth it is marking. For a quick rest lie down, a night on earth is beyond imagining short. Before you expect the sun will an appearance make, on earth it will be. Morning, before expecting, darkness came, the heavens from the earth it separated. Lightnings the darkness pierced, rains the thunders followed. By winds were the waters blown, storms of an alien god they were. In the chariot the heroes hunkered down, in the chariot the heroes huddled. Resting to them did not come, they were greatly agitated. With quickened hearts the sun's return they awaited. Smiling when its rays appeared they were, joyful and backslapping. And it was evening, and it was morning, their first day on earth it was. By daybreak Ea, the ongoings considered, to separate waters from waters, heed he was giving. Anger he made of the sweet waters the master, drinking waters to provide. To the snake pond with Alalu he went, its sweet waters to consider. Evil serpents in the pond were swarming. So did Ngur to Ea say. The marshlands Ea then contemplated, the abundance of rainwaters he weighed. Mbululu he placed in charge of the marshlands, to mark out the thicket of. Reeds him he directed, and Kimdu in charge of ditch and dike he placed, a boundary for the marshes to, fashion for the waters that from heaven rain a gathering place to make. Thus were the waters below from the waters above separated, marsh waters from sweet waters asunder was set. And it was evening, and it was morning, the second day on earth it was. When the sun morning announced, the heroes their assigned tasks were, performing, with Alalu Ea to the place of grass and trees his steps directed, all that in the orchard grows, herbs and fruits after their kind to examine. To Isimud, his vizier, Ea questions was addressing, what is this plant? What is that plant? Him he was asking. Isimud, one of much learning, food that grows well he could distinguish. He tore a fruit for Ea, a honey plant it is. To Ea he was saying, one fruit he himself ate, one fruit Ea was eating, of food that grows by its good distinguished. Ea, the hero guru, put in charge. Thus were the heroes water and food provided, satiated they were not. And it was evening, and it was morning, the third day on earth it was. On the fourth day the wind ceased blowing, the chariot by waves was not disturbed. Let tools from the chariot be brought, let abodes in the encampment be built, Ea thus commanded. Kula in charge of mold and brick Ea appointed, from the clay bricks to fashion Mushtamu to lay foundations he directed, dwelling abodes to erect. All day the sun was shining, the great light by day it was. By Evertime Kingu, earth's moon, in fullness a pale light on earth it cast, a lesser light to rule the night, among the celestial gods accounted to be. And it was evening, and it was morning, the 4th day on earth it was. On the 5th day Ea Ningirsi, a boat of reeds to fashion commanded, the measure of the marshes to take, the stretch of the swamplands too. Consider, Ulmash, he who what in the water swarms knows, who a fowl that fly has. Understanding, Ulmash as a companion Ea took between good and bad to distinguish, kinds that in the water swarm, kinds that in the skies give wing to Ulmash. Many were unknown, bewildering was their number. Good were the carp, among the bad they were. Swimming, and Belulu, the marshlands master, Ea summoned, and Kimdu, in charge of ditch, and dike Ea summoned. To them he gave words in the marshlands to make a barrier with canebrakes and green reeds, and enclosure to fashion fish from fish there. Separate a trap for carp that from a net could not escape, a place whose snare no bird that is good for food could escape. Thus were fish and fowl by their good kinds separated for the heroes provided. And it was evening and it was morning, the 5th day on earth it was. On the 6th day Ea of the orchard's creatures took account, and Nursag to the task he assigned, that which creeps and that which on feet walks to distinguish their kinds, and Nursag astounded of the ferocity of their wildness to Ea. Account he gave, Eakula summoned, to Mushtamu urgent commands he gave, by Evtime the abodes to be completed, by a fence for protection to be. Surrounded, the heroes to the task put their shoulders, bricks on the foundations were quickly laid, with reeds were the roofings made, of cut down trees was the fencing put up. Anzu a beam that kills from the chariot brought over, a speaker that words beams at Ea's abode he set up, by Evtime complete was the encampment. For the night therein the heroes gathered. Ea and Alalu and Anzu, the doings considered, all that was done indeed was good. And it was evening and it was morning, the 6th day. On the 7th day the heroes in the encampment were assembled. To them Ea spoke these words: a hazardous journey we have undertaken, from Nibiru to the 7th planet, a dangerous way we traverse. At earth we with success arrive, much good we attain, an encampment we establish. Let this day be a day of rest, the 7th day hereafter a day of resting always. To be! Let this place henceforth by the name Eridu be called, home in the far away. The meaning thereof will be, let a promise be kept, let Alalu of Eridu the commander be declared. The heroes thus assembled, in unison agreement shouted. Words of consent Alalu uttered, then homage to Ea he greatly paid. Let Ea a second name be given, Nudimu the artful fashioner let him be. Call! In unison the heroes' agreement announced. And it was evening and it was morning, the 7th day. Now this is the account of how the searching for gold was begun, and how the plans on Nibiru made to Nibiru salvation did not provide. After the encampment of Eridu was established and the heroes with food were satiated, Ea the task of gold from the waters obtaining started. In the chariot the firestones were stirred up, its great cracker was. Enlivened, that which water sucks from the chariot was extended into the marsh. Waters it was inserted. Into a vessel of crystals the waters were directed. From the waters the crystals all that is metal in the vessel extracted. Then from the vessel that which spits out the waters to the fish pond spat out. Thus were the metals that were in the waters in the vessel collected. Ingenious was Ea's handiwork, an artful fashioner indeed he was. For 6 earth days marsh waters were sucked in, marsh waters were spat out. In the vessel metals indeed were collected. The metals on the 7th day by Ea and Alalu were examined. Of many kinds were the metals in the vessel. Iron there was, much copper there was, of gold there was no abundance. In the chariot another vessel, the artful handiwork of Nudimud, the metals after their kinds were separated, ashore kind by kind they were carried. For 6 days thus did the heroes toil. On the 7th day they rested. For 6 days were the crystal vessels filled and emptied. On the 7th day were the metals accounted. There was iron and there was copper, and other metals too. Of the gold the smallest pile was accumulated. In the night times the moon waxed and waned. By the name month did Ea its circuit call. At month's very start its luminous horn 6 days signified. By its half-crown the 7th day it announced, a day to rest it was. At midway by a fullness was the moon distinguished, then it paused to become diminished. With the sun's course was the moon's circuit appearing, with earth's circuit it was its face revealing. Fascinated by the moon's motions was Ea, its attachment as Kingu to Kihi, contemplated what purpose did the attachment serve, what heavenly sign was it giving. A month did Ea the moon's circuit call, month to its circuit he gave the name. For 1 month, for 2 months, in the chariot where the waters separated the sun, every 6 months to earth another season gave, winter and summer did Ea by names them call. There was winter and there was summer, by year of earth did Ea the full circuit call. By year's end of the accumulated gold account was taken, much to dispatch to Nibiru there was not. The swampland's waters are deficient. Let the chariot to the deeper ocean be. Move, so was Ea saying. From its moorings was the chariot untied. Back whence it came, it was shifted. With great care were the crystal vessels stirred up, the salt waters through, them passing. Metals by their kinds were separated. Gold among them was sparkling. From the chariot of the happenings, Ea to Nibiru word did beam, Anu to hear. It was pleased indeed. In its destined circuit, Nibiru to the sun's abode was returning. A closeness to earth on its Shar circuit was Nibiru attaining. With eagerness did Anu about the gold inquire, is there enough for sending to Nibiru? He was asking. Alas, not enough was of the gold from the waters collected. Let another Shar pass, let the quantity be doubled. Ea to Anu counsel. From the ocean's waters the obtaining of gold continued. In his heart Ea with apprehension was filling. From the chariot parts were hauled out, a sky chamber from them was assembled. Abgal, he who knows piloting of the sky chamber to take charge he, appointed daily in the sky chamber with Abgal, did Ea upward soar, the earth and its secrets to learn. For the sky chamber an enclosure was constructed, by Alalu's chariot was it placed. Daily the crystals in Alalu's chariot did Ea study, what by their beams was. Discovered to understand whence does the gold come, he asked Alalu. Where on earth are Tiamat's golden veins? In the sky chamber with Abgal did Ea upward soar, the earth and its secrets. To learn, over great mountains they roamed, in the valleys great rivers they saw, steppes and forests below were stretched, thousands of leagues was there. Vast lands separated by oceans they recorded, with the beam that scans the soils they penetrated. On Nibiru impatience was growing. Can gold protection provide? Was the outcry increasing. Assemble the gold, on Nibiru's nearing gold you must deliver. So did Anu. Ea command, repair Alalu's chariot, for returning to Nibiru make it fit for the Shars. Completion make it ready, so was Anu saying. Ea his father's the king words was heeding, the repairing of Alalu's chariot. He was contemplating. As the sky chamber one eve, by the side of the chariot they landed, with Abgal the chariot they entered, a secret deed in the darkness to perform. The weapons of terror, the 7 of them, from the chariot they removed, to the sky chamber they took them, inside the sky chamber them to give, hiding. By sunrise Ea with Abgal in the sky chamber soared, to another land was their direction. There, in a secret place, did Ea the weapons hide, in a cave, a place unknown. He stored them. Then to Anzu Ea words of command gave, to repair Alalu's chariot he him, directed, for returning to Nibiru to make it fit, by the Shah's completion to make it ready. Anzu, in the ways of chariots greatly skilled to the task his labor set, he made his thrusters hum again. Its tablets he carefully considered. The absence of the weapons of terror he soon discovered. With anger, Anzu cried out. Ea of their hiding away gave the explanation. Forsworn is the weapon's use, Ea was saying. Neither in the heavens nor on firm land shall they ever be harnessed. Without them no passage through the hammered bracelet is safe, Anzu was saying. Without them, without water thrusters, the danger is endurance surpassing. Alalu of Eridu, the commander, the words of Ea considered to the words of Anzu heed he gave. The words of Ea by the council of Nibiru are attested, Alalu was saying. But without the chariot's return, Nibiru shall be doomed. Abgal, he who knows piloting, boldly toward the leader stepped forward. I shall be the pilot, the dangers I shall valiantly face, he was saying. Thus was the decision made. Abgal shall be the pilot, Anzu on earth shall be. Staying on Nibiru, the stargazers the destinies of the celestial gods contemplated. An opportune day they were selecting. Into Alalu's chariot basketfuls of gold were carried. The forepart of the chariot Abgal entered, the commander's seat he occupied. From the chariot of Ea, to him Ea a tablet of destiny gave. It shall be that which shows the way for you, by it the open pathway. You shall find the chariot's firestones Abgal stirred up. Their hum like music was, enthralling. The chariot's great cracker he enlivened, a reddish brilliance it was casting. Ea and Alalu, the multitude of heroes, were standing around. Farewell to him they were bidding. Then the chariot with a roar heavenward rose. To the heavens it ascended. To Nibiru words of the ascent were beamed. On Nibiru there was much expecting. The fourth tablet, synopsis of the fourth tablet. The Nibiruans hail even the small gold delivery. Tests of golds used as an atmospheric shield succeed. Additional heroes and new equipment are sent to Earth. Gold extraction from the waters continues to disappoint. EA discovers gold sources that need deep mining in the Abzu. Enlil, then Anu come to Earth for crucial decisions. As the half-brothers quarrel, lots decide the task. EA, renamed Enki Earth's Master, goes to the Abzu. Enlil stays to develop permanent facilities in the Aden. As Anu prepares to leave, he is attacked by Alalu. The seven who judge sentence Alalu to exile on Lahmu. Anu's daughter Ninma, a medical officer, is sent to Earth. Stopping off at Lahmu, Mars, she finds Alalu dead. A rock carved to resemble Alalu's face serves as his tomb. Anzu is given command of a way station on Lahmu. To Nibiru, words of the ascent were beamed. On Nibiru there was much expecting. With confidence was Abgal the chariot guiding. Around Kingu, the moon, he made a circuit. By its net power speed to gain 1,000 leagues, 10,000 leagues toward Lahmu he journeyed. By its net power a direction toward Nibiru to obtain. Beyond Lahmu the hammered bracelet was a whirling. Deftly did Abgal Ea's crystals make a glow, the open paths to locate. The eye of fate upon him with favor looked. Beyond the bracelet, the chariot beam signals from Nibiru was receiving. Homeward, homeward was the direction. Ahead in the darkness, in reddish hue glowed Nibiru. A sight to behold it was. By the beam signals, the chariot was now directed. Thrice around Nibiru, it made circuits, by its net force to be slowed. Nearing the planet, the breach in its atmosphere, Abgal could see. A squeezing in his heart he felt. Of the gold he was bringing was he thinking. Passing through the atmosphere's thickness, aglow was the chariot, its heat overbearing. Deftly did Abgal spread the chariot's wings, its descent thereby arresting. Beyond lay the place of the chariots, a sight most inviting. Gently did Abgal the chariot bring down to a place by the beams selected. He opened the hatch. A multitude of populace was there assembled. Anu toward him stepped forward, locked arms, warm greetings uttered. Heroes into the chariot rushed. The gold-bearing baskets they brought out. High above their heads they the baskets held to the assembled. Words of victory Anu shouted, "Salvation is here!" To them he was saying, to the palace was Abgal accompanied, to rest until all he was escorted. The gold, a sight most dazzling by the savants, was quickly taken, to make of it the finest dust. To skyward launch it was hauled away. A shah did the fashioning last, a shah did the testing continue. With rockets was the dust heavenward carried, by crystal's beams was it dispersed. Where there was a breach, now there was a healing. Joy the palace filled, abundance in the land was expected. To earth Anu good words was beaming, gold gives salvation. The obtaining of gold do continue. When Nibiru near the sun came, the golden dust was by its rays disturbed. The healing in the atmosphere was dwindled, the breach to bigness returned. Anu the return of Abgal to earth then commanded. In the chariot more heroes traveled, in its bowels more that which the water sucks in and thrusts out were provided. With them Nungol to travel was commanded, a pilot helper to Abgal to become. Great joy there was when Abgal to Eridu returned. Many greetings and the locking of arms there was. The new water workings Ea with care contemplated. There was smiling on his face, in his heart there was a squeezing. By Shar time, Nungal in the chariot was to depart ready. In its bowels the chariot only a few baskets of gold carried. The disappointment on Nibiru Ea's heart to him was predicting. Ea with Alalu words exchanged. That which was known they reconsidered. If earth the head of Tiamat was in the celestial battle cut off, where was the neck? Where were the golden veins cut asunder? Where were the golden veins from earth's innards protruding? In the sky chamber Ea over mountains and valleys traveled. The lands by oceans separated he with the scanner examined. Again and again there was the same indication. Where dry land from dry land apart was torn, earth's innards were revealed. Where the landmass the shape of a heart was given, in the lower part thereof golden veins from earth's innards were abundant. Abzu of gold the birthplace, Ea to the region the name gave. Ea then to Anu words of wisdom beamed. With gold earth indeed is filled. From the veins, not from the waters, the gold must be gotten. From earth's bowels, not from its waters, must the gold be obtained. From a region beyond the ocean, Abzu it shall be called, can an abundance of gold be gotten. In the palace there was great astonishment. Savants and counselors to Ea's words gave consideration. That gold must be obtained. On that unanimity there was. How to obtain it from the bowels of the earth. Of that there was much discussion. In the assembly a prince spoke up, and Lil he was, the half-brother of Ea. First Alalu, then his son by marriage. Ea upon waters placed all hope of salvation. By waters gold they were reassuring. Shar after Shar all of us salvation were expecting. Now different words we are hearing, a task beyond imagining to undertake. Proof of the golden veins is needed, a plan for success must be ensured. So was Enlil to the assembly saying, to his words many in agreement listen. Let Enlil go to earth, Anu was saying. Let him proof obtain, a plan put forward. His words shall be heeded, his words a command shall be. In unanimity the assembly its consent gave. Enlil's mission it approved. With Alaulgar his chief lieutenant, Enlil for earth departed. Alaulgar his pilot was, with each a sky chamber where the two of them provided. To earth the words of Anu the king, words of decisions were beamed. Enlil of the mission in command shall be, his words shall be the command. When Enlil on earth arrived, Ea with his half-brother warmly locked arms. As brother meets brother, Ea Enlil did welcome. To Alalu Enlil made a bowing. Alalu with weak words him bade welcome. The heroes to Enlil words of warm welcome were shouting. Of the commander much they were expecting. Deftly Enlil the sky chambers to be assembled did command. In a sky chamber he went a-soaring. Alaulgar, his chief lieutenant, was as the pilot with him. Ea in a sky chamber by Abgal piloted. To them to the Abzu showed the way. They surveyed the dry lands. Of the oceans they took careful notice. From the upper sea to the lower sea the lands they scanned. Of all that was above and that was below they took account. In the Abzu, the soil they tested. Gold there was indeed, with much soil, and rocks it was comics, refined as in the waters it was not, in an admixture it was hiding. They went back to Eridu. What they had found they contemplated. Eridu new tasks must be given. Alone on earth it cannot continue. Thus was Enlil saying, a great plan he described, a wide mission he was, proposing more heroes to bring over, more settlements to establish, the gold from earth's inners to obtain, the gold from the admixture to separate, by skyships and chariots to be carried, from landing places tasks to perform. Who of the settlements in charge will be, who of the Abzu shall take command? Thus was Ea of Enlil asking, who of enlarged Eridu shall take command, who the settlements shall oversee? Thus was Alalu saying, who of the skyships and the landing place shall take command? So did Anzu inquire, let Anu come to earth, let him decisions provide. Thus did Enlil say in answer, now this is the account of how Anu to earth came, how lots with Ea and Enlil were drawn, how Ea the title name Enki was given, how Alalu for the second time with Anu wrestled. To earth in a celestial chariot did Anu journey, the route by the planets it followed. Around Lamunungal, the pilot, a circuit made by Anu was it closely observed. The moon, the one who Kingu once had been, they circled and admired. Perchance gold thereon can also be found? In his heart Anu wondered. In the waters beside the marshlands his chariot splashed down. Ea for the arrival reed boats prepared, for Anu to arrive by sailing. Above the sky chambers were hovering, a royal welcome they were offering. In the lead boat Ea himself was afloat, the king his father the first to be, greeting. Before Anu he bowed, then Anu embraced him. My son, my firstborn! Anu to him shouted. In the square of Eridu in rows stood the heroes, their king to earth royally too. Welcome! In front of them stood Enlil, their commander. Before Anu the king he bowed. Anu him to his chest embraced. Alalu too was there standing. Of what to do he was uncertain. Anu to him a greeting extended. Let us lock arms as comrades. To Alalu he said. With hesitation Alalu stepped forward. With Anu he locked arms. A meal for Anu was prepared by Evertime to a reed hut for him by Ea built. Anu retired. The next day, the seventh by the count begun by Ea, was a day of resting, a day of backslapping and celebrating it was, as befits a king's coming. On the day that followed, Ea and Enlil before Anu the findings presented, what was done and what doing needed with him they discussed. Let me see the lands by myself, Anu to them was saying. Aloft they all in the sky chambers went, lands from sea to sea they observed. To the Abzu they flew, on its gold-hiding soil they landed. Difficult will the gold's extraction be, Anu was saying. To obtain the gold it is necessary, no matter how deep the gold is below the surface, it must be gotten. Let Ea and Enlil tools for the purpose devise, let them heroes for the task. Assign, let them find how gold from soil and rock separates, how to Nibiru pure. Gold to deliver, let a landing place be built, let more heroes to the task on earth be assigned. So was Anu to the two sons saying in his heart, of way stations in the heavens he was thinking. Those were the command words of Anu. Ea and Enlil in agreement there. Heads were bowing, there were evenings and there were mornings. To Eridu they all returned. In Eridu they held a council, tasks and duties to assign. Ea, who Eridu established, was the first to speak up. Eridu have I established. Let other settlements in this region be set up. Let it the Aden be, abode of the upright ones, by this name be known. The commander of the Eden let me be. Let Enlil the gold extraction perform. By these words Enlil was angered. The plan is wrongful. To Anu he said, of commanding and tasks to perform I am the better. Of skyships I have the knowledge. Of the earth and its secrets my half-brother Ea is the knower. The Abzu he discovered, let him of the Abzu be the master. Anu to the angry words with a careful ear listened. The brothers were again half-brothers, the firstborn with the legal heir with words as weapons were contending. Ea was the firstborn son by a concubine. To Anu he was born. Enlil, thereafter born by Antu, Anu's spouse, was conceived. A half-sister of Anu she was, thereby Enlil the legal heir making, thereby the next-born son for the succession, the firstborn overcoming. A conflict that the obtainment of gold would endanger Anu was fearing. One of the brothers to Nibiru must return, the succession from considering must now be removed, so was Anu to himself thinking. Aloud to the two a startling suggestion he made, who to Nibiru for the throne seat shall return, who the Eden shall command, who in the Abzu shall be the master. Let us three, I with you, by lots determine. Silent were the brothers, the audacious words by surprise them overtook. Let us draw lots, Anu said. By the hand of fate, let there be a decision. The three, father and two sons, clasped their hands together. They cast lots. By the lots the task they divided. Anu to Nibiru to return, its ruler on the throne to remain. The Eden to Enlil was allotted to be lord of the command, as his name indicated, more settlements to establish, of the sky ships and their heroes charged to take, of all the lands until they the bar of the seas encounter, the leader to be. To Ea the seas and the oceans as his domain were granted, lands beyond the bar of the waters, by him to be governed, in the Abzu to be the master, with ingenuity the gold to procure. Enlil with the lots was agreeable, the hand of fate he with a bow accepted. Ea's eyes filled with tears, of Eridu and the Eden he wished not to be parted. Let Ea forever Eridu as his home retain. Anu to Enlil was saying, let his being the first to splash down forever be remembered. Let Ea as Earth's master be known. Enki, Earth's master, let his title be. His father's words Enlil with the bow accepted. To his brother he thus said, Enki, Earth's master, your title name shall henceforth be, I lord of thee, command shall be known. To the heroes in assembly, Anu, Enki, and Enlil, the decisions announced. The tasks are assigned, success is in the offing. Anu to them was saying, now farewell I can bid you. To Nibiru with quiet heart I can return. Forward toward Anu Alalu stepped. A grave matter has been forgotten, he shouted. The mastery of earth to me was allotted. That was the promise when the gold finds to Nibiru I announced, nor have I the claim to Nibiru's throne forsaken by Anu to share all with his sons. It is a grave abomination. Thus did Alalu Anu and the decisions challenge. Without words was Anu in the beginning. Then with anger he spoke up. By a second wrestling let our dispute be decided. Let us the wrestling do here. Let us do it now. With disdain Alalu took off his clothing. Likewise did Anu unrobe. In nakedness did the two royals begin to grapple. A mighty struggle it was. Alalu bent his knee to the ground. Alalu fell. Anu on the chest of Alalu with his foot pressed down. Victory in the wrestling, thereby declaring. By wrestling the decision was made. I am the king. To Nibiru Alalu shall not return. So was Anu saying as he removed his foot from the fallen Alalu. Up as a lightning Alalu from the ground arose. By the legs Anu he pulled. Down his mouth was wide open. Swiftly he the male hood of Anu bit off. The male hood of Anu did Alalu swallow. In pained agony did Anu a cry to the heavens shout. To the ground wounded he fell. Enki to the fallen Anu rushed. Enlil the laughing Alalu captive held. Heroes Anu to his hut carried. Words of accusation against Alalu he uttered. Let justice be done, Enlil to his lieutenant shouted, with your beam weapon. Let Alalu be killed. No, no, Enki fiercely shouted. Justice is within him, in his innards poison has entered. They took Alalu to a reed hut. His hands and feet as a prisoner they bound. Now this is the account of the judging of Alalu, and of the happenings thereafter on earth and on Lamu. In his reed hut Anu was hurting. In the reed hut to him Enki applied the healing. In his reed hut Alalu was sitting. Spittle he spat from his mouth. In his innards the male hood of Anu was like a burden. With Anu's semen were his innards impregnated. Like a female in travail his belly grew swollen. On the third day Anu's pain subsided. His pride was greatly hurting. To Nibiru I wish to return. To his two sons did Anu say, beforehand upon Alalu there must be a judgment, a sentence the crime. Befitting must be imposed. By the laws of Nibiru, 7 judges were required, the highest of rank on them to preside. In the square of Eridu, the heroes were assembled, the trial of Alalu to observe. For the 7 who judged, 7 seats were provided. For Anu presiding, the tallest seat was prepared. To his right, Enki was seated. Enlil was seated on Anu's left. On Enki's right, Anzu and Nungo were seated, Abgal and Alalgar to the left. Of Enlil sat. Before these 7 who judge Alalu was brought, his hands and feet were untied. Enlil was first to speak. In fairness, a wrestling match was held. Alalu the kingship to Anu forfeited. What say you, Alalu? Enki him this question asked. In fairness, the wrestling match was held. The kingship I forfeited, Alalu said. Having been vanquished, Alalu an abominable crime performed. The malehood of Anu he bit and swallowed. Thus did Enlil the accusation of the crime make. Death is the punishment, Enlil was saying. What say you, Alalu? Enki, his father by marriage, asked. There was silence. Alalu the question did not answer. We all the crime did witness, Alalgar was saying. Judgment must be in accordance. If words you wish to utter, speak before the judging, Enki to Alalu said. In the silence, Alalu slowly began to speak. On Nibiru I was king. By right of succession I was reigning. Anu was my cupbearer. The princes he aroused to a wrestling he me challenged. For 9 counted circuits I was king on Nibiru. To my seat kingship was belonging. On my throne seat Anu himself sat. To escape death to distant earth I made a dangerous journey. Salvation for Nibiru first, Alalu on the alien planet discovered. Return to Nibiru I was promised. In fairness the throne to regain. Then to earth came Ea, the one by compromise the next to reign Nibiru Hay was designated. Then came Enlil, the succession from Anu to himself claiming. Then Anu came, by lots he tricked Ea. Enki, the lord of earth he was, proclaimed of earth, not of Nibiru, to be the master. Then to Enlil command was granted. Enki to the distant Abzu was delegated. My heart of all that was aching, my chest from shame and anger was bursting. Then Anu his foot upon my chest placed, upon my aching heart he was treading. In the silence Anu spoke up. By royal seed and law, by fair wrestling did I gain the throne. My malehood you bit off and swallowed, my offspring line to discontinue. And Lil spoke up. To the crime the accused admitted. Let the judgment come, let death the punishment be. Death, said Alalgar. Death, said Abgal. Death, said Nungal. Death to Alalu by itself will be coming, what he has swallowed in his innards. Death will bring, Enki was saying. Let Alalu for the rest of his days on earth be in prison. Anzu was saying. Their words Anu was contemplating, anger and pity both him engulfed. To die in exile, let this be the judgment, Anu was saying. In amazement the judges at each other glanced. What Anu was saying they wondered. Neither on earth nor on Nibiru shall the exiling be, Anu was saying. On the way there is the Lamu planet, with waters and an atmosphere it is. Endowed, Enki as Ea, thereon made a pause, of it as a way station have I been thinking. Its net force is less than that of earth forceful, an advantage in wisdom to be. Considered in the celestial chariot Alalu shall be taken. On my departing from earth he with me shall make the journey. Around the planet Lamu we shall make circuits. To Alalu a sky chamber we shall provide. To the planet Lamu in it he will be descended. Alone on a strange planet in exile he shall be. His days to his last day by himself to count. Thus did Anu words of judgment utter. In solemnity were the words intended. By unanimity was this judgment upon Alalu imposed. In the presence of the heroes it was announced. Let Nungal be my pilot to Nibiru, therefrom chariots bearing heroes again to earth to pilot. Let Anzu join for the journey of the descent to Lamu take charge. So did Anu commandments utter. On the morrow departing was ready. All who depart by boats to the chariot were ferried. A place for landings on firm soil you must prepare, Anu to Enlil was saying. How Lamu as a way station to utilize, plans you should be making. Farewells there were, both joy and sorrow. Limping did Anu on the chariot embark. With his hands tied did Alalu the chariot enter. Then to the heavens the chariot soared up, and the royal visit had ended. They around the moon made a circuit. Anu by the sight was enchanted. To a red-hued Lamu they journeyed, twice about it they circled. Lower toward the strange planet they came, mountains sky high and tears in. The surface they noticed. Where Ea's chariot had once landed they observed by a lakeside it was located. Slowed by Lamu net power, in the chariot the sky chamber they readied. Anzu, its pilot, then unexpected words to Anu was saying, with Alalu to the firm soil of Lamu I shall descend, with the sky chamber to the chariot to return I wish not. With Alalu on the strange planet I shall stay, until he dies I shall protect him. When he dies of his innards poisoned, as befits a king him I shall bury. As for me, I shall have made my name Anzu, they will say, against all odds to a king in exile a companion was. He saw things by others unseen, on a strange planet he faced unknown. Things, Anzu, they will to the end of time shall say, like a hero has fallen. There were tears in the eyes of Alalu, there was amazement in the heart of Anu. Your wish shall be honored, to Anzu Anu said. Hereby let a promise by me too. You be made by my raised hand to you I this swear. On the next journey a chariot by Lamu shall circuit, its skyship to you shall descend. If alive it shall find you, the master of Lamu you shall be proclaimed. When a way station on Lamu shall be established, its commander you shall be. Anzu bowed his head. So be it. To Anu he said, into the sky chamber Alalu and Anzu were ushered. With eagles' helmets and fishes' suits they were provided. With food and tools they were supplied. From the circling chariot the skyship departed. From the chariot its descent was observed. Then from view it disappeared, and the chariot to Nibiru continued. For 9 shahs was Alalu king on Nibiru. For 8 shahs Eridu he commanded. In the 9th shah, to die in exile on Lamu, was his fate. Now this is the account of the return of Anu to Nibiru, and how Alalu on Lamu was buried, how Enlil on earth the landing place built. On Nibiru there was for Anu a joyous welcome. Of what had happened to the council and the princes Anu gave account. Neither pity nor vengeance from them all he sought. To discuss the tasks ahead he them all instructed. To the assembled a vision great in scope he outlined, way stations from Nibiru to earth to establish, all the sun's family in one. Kingdom to encompass, the first on Lamu to be fashioned, the moon for the plans also to be considered, on the other planets or their circling host stations to set up. A chain, a constant caravan of chariots to supply and safeguard, the gold from earth without interruptions to Nibiru bring perchance gold. Elsewhere to also find. The counselors, the princes, the savants Anu's plans considered, the salvation of Nibiru and the plans they all a promise saw. Savants and commanders' knowledge of the celestial gods perfected. To chariots and skyships, a new kind, rocket ships were added. Heroes for the task were selected. For the task there was much learning. The plans to Enki and Enlil were beamed over, preparations on earth to hurry. They were told on earth of what had happened and what to be done is required there was. Much discussion. Enki Alalgar to be of Eridu the overseer appointed, his own steps to the Abzu he directed, where to obtain gold from earth's bowels he then determined. What heroes to the task are needed he calculated. What tools were required he contemplated. An earth splitter with cleverness Enki design on Nibiru that it be. Fashioned he requested there within the earth to make a gash, its innards reach by way of tunnels. That which crunches and that which crushes he also designed on Nibiru. For the Abzu to be fashioned, of other matters Nibiru savants he to contemplate asked. Of matters of health and well-being of heroes the needs he listed. To the heroes earth's quick circuits were upsetting, earth's quick day and night cycles dizziness were causing. The atmosphere, though good, was in some things lacking, in others too abundant. Of the sameness of the food the heroes were complaining. Enlil, the commander, by the heat of the sun on earth was afflicted. For coolness and shade he was longing, while in the Abzu Enki preparations was making. Enlil in his skyship the extent of the Eden was surveying. Of mountains and rivers he took account, of valleys and plains the measures. He took where a landing place to establish, a place for the rocket ships he was seeking. Enlil, by the heat of the sun afflicted, for a place of coolness and shade was searching. To snow-covered mountains on the Eden's north side he took a liking. The tallest trees he ever saw grew there in a cedar forest. There above a mountain valley with power beams the surface he flattened. Great stones from the hillside the heroes quarried, and to size cut. To uphold the platform with sky ships they carried, and emplace them. With satisfaction did Enlil the handiwork consider, a work beyond belief indeed it was, a structure of everlasting. An abode for himself on the crest of the mountain was his desire. Of the tall trees in the cedar forest long beams were prepared. Of them the construction of an abode for himself he decreed. The abode of the north crest he named it. On Nibiru a new celestial chariot for soaring off was prepared. New kinds of rocket ships, sky ships, and that which Enki had designed it was transporting. A fresh group of 50 from Nibiru it was taking. Chosen females among them were by Ninmah, exalted lady, where they commanded, in succor and healing, where they trained. Ninmah, exalted lady, a daughter of Anu she was, a half-sister, not a full. Sister of Enki and Enlil she was. In succor and healing she was greatly learned. In the treating of ailments she excelled. To the complaints from earth she gave much attention. A healing was she, preparing the course of prior chariots. On tablets of destinies recorded, Nungo its pilot did follow. Unharmed it reached the celestial god Lamu. It circled the planet slowly to its surface it descended. A faint beaming a group of heroes followed. Ninmah was going with them. Beside a lakeshore Anzu they found. From his helmet the signals were beaming. Anzu himself was without motion, prostrate, he lay dead. Ninmah touched his face, to his heart she gave attention. From her pouch she took out the pulsar. Upon Anzu's heart pulsing she directed. From her pouch she took out the emitter, its crystal's life-giving emissions. On his body she directed. 60 times did Ninmah direct the pulsar. 60 times the emitter she directed. On the 60th time Anzu his eyes opened, with his lips he motioned. Gently upon his face Ninmah water of life poured, his lips with it wetting. Gently into his mouth the food of life she placed. Then the miracle did happen. Anzu from the dead arose. About Alalu they him then inquired. Of Alalu's death Anzu them told. He led them to a great rock, from the plain heavenward protruding. There to them what had happened he was telling. Alalu soon after the landing from unremitting pain to scream began. From his mouth his innards he was spitting. In agony he peered over the wall. Thus was Anzu to them saying. He led them to a great rock, like a mountain from the plain heavenward, rising. In the great rock a cave I found. Alalu's corpse therein I hid. Its entrance with stones I covered. So was Anzu to them saying. They followed him to the rock. The stones they removed. The cave they entered. Inside what of Alalu remained they found. He who once on Nibiru a king was a pile of bones, was in a cave now lying. For the first time in our annals a king not on Nibiru has died. Not on Nibiru. Was he buried? So did Ninmah say. Let him in peace for eternity rest, she was saying. They the cave's entrance again with stones covered, the image of Alalu upon the great rock mountain with beams they carved. They showed him wearing an eagle's helmet, his face they made uncovered. Let the image of Alalu forever gaze toward Nibiru that he ruled, toward the earth whose gold he discovered. So Ninmah, exalted lady, in the name of her father Anu did declare, as for you, Anzu, to you Anu the king his promise shall be keeping. 20 heroes with you here shall remain, the way stations building too. Begin, rocket ships from earth, the golden ore shall here deliver, celestial chariots from here the gold to Nibiru shall then transport. Hundreds of heroes their abode on Lamu shall make, you, Anzu, shall be their commander. Thus did the great lady in the name of her father Anu to Anzu say, "My life I owe to you, great lady." So was Anzu saying, "My gratitude to Anu shall limits not have." From the planet Lamu the chariot departed, toward earth the journey it continued. The fifth tablet. Synopsis of the fifth tablet. Ninma arrives on earth with a group of female nurses. She delivers seeds to grow elixir-providing plants. She brings Enlil news of their out-of-wedlock son, Ninurta. In the Abzu, Enki establishes an abode and mining sites. In the Eden, Enlil builds space and other facilities. Nibiruans on Earth, Annunaki, number 600, 300 Ijiji operate the facilities on Lahmu, Mars. Exile for violating Sud, Enlil learns of the hidden weapons. Sud becomes Enlil's spouse Ninlil, bears a son Nanar. Ninma joins Enki in the Abzu, bears him daughters. Ninki, Enki's spouse, arrives with their son Marduk. Clans form on earth as Enki and Enlil beget more sons. Beset by hardships, the Ijiji launch a coup against Enlil. Ninurta defeats their leader Anzu in aerial battles. The Annunaki, driven to produce gold faster, mutiny. Enlil and Ninurta denounce the mutineers. Enki suggests to artificially fashion primitive workers. From the planet Lamu the chariot departed, toward earth the journey it continued. Around the moon they made circuits, a way station thereon to explore. Around the earth they made circuits, toward a splashdown slowing. In the waters beside Eridu did Nungul the chariot bring down. To a quay, by Enlil constructed, they stepped off. Boats were no longer needed. Enlil and Enki, their sister, with embraces greeted. With Nungul the pilot they locked arms. The heroes, male and female by the present heroes, were with shouts greeted. All that the chariot had brought was quickly unloaded, rocket ships and sky ships, and the tools by Enki designed, and provisions of all kinds. Of all that on Nibiru transpired, of the death and burying of Alalu, Ninma. Her brothers told, of the way station on Lamu and the commanding by Anzu she to them related. Enki of that uttered approval, Enlil words of bewilderment uttered. That is Anu's decision, his word is unalterable, Ninma to Enlil was saying. For the malady's relief I have brought, Ninma to her brothers said. From her pouch a bag of seeds she brought out, seeds in the soil to be sown. A host of bushes from the seeds shall sprout, a juicy fruit they will produce. The juice and elixir shall form, for drinking by the heroes it shall be good. Their ailments it will chase away, happier their mood it shall make. In a cool place the seeds need to be sown, by warmth and water need they nourishing. So did Ninma to her brothers say. The place that for this is perfect I will to you show, Enlil to her said. It is where the landing place was fashioned, where an abode of cedar wood I have made. In Enlil's skyship the two of them, Enlil and Ninma, skyward soared to the landing place in the snow-covered mountains. By the cedar forest brother and sister went. On the great stone platform the skyship landed. To Enlil's abode they went. Once inside, Enlil embraced her. With fervor he kissed Ninma. "O my sister, my beloved," Enlil to her whispered. By her loins he grabbed her. Into her womb his semen he did not pour. "Of our son Ninurta word I bring you." Ninma to him softly said, "A young prince he is. For adventure he is ready. To join you on earth he is prepared. If here you stay, let us Ninurta our son bring over." Enlil to her said. To the landing place heroes were arriving, rocket ships by sky ships to the platform they carried. From the pouch of Ninma the seeds were obtained. In the valley's soil they were sown, a fruit from Nibiru on earth to be grown. In the skyship Enlil and Ninma to Eridu returned. On the way Enlil to her the landscape showed, the Aiden's extent to her he showed. From the skies Enlil to her his plans explained. "An everlasting plan have I designed," to her he was saying. "That which for all time construction shall determine I have laid out. Away from Eridu, where dry land begins, my quarter shall be. Lausa will be its name. A place for directing it shall become. On the banks of the Baranu, the river of deep waters. Will it be located? A twin thereof, a city shall in future arise. Lagash I shall name it. Between the two on the plans a line have I drawn. 60 leagues thereafter a healing city shall come into being. A city of your own it shall be. Shurubak the haven city I shall name it. On the center line it shall be located. To the fourth city it shall be leading. Nibruki, earth's crossing place, I will name it. A bond, heaven, earth, in it I shall establish. The tablets of destinies it shall house. All missions it will control. With Eridu 5 cities there shall be counted. To eternity they shall exist. On a crystal tablet Enlil to Ninmah the master plan was showing. On the tablet she saw more markings. Of them of Enlil she inquired. Beyond the 5 cities, a chariot place I shall henceforth build. From Nibiru to earth directly to arrive. Enlil to her was responding. Why by Anu's plans for Lamu Enlil was bewildered. Ninmah then understood. My brother, magnificent is your plan for the 5 cities. To him Ninmah was saying, the creation of Shurubak, a city for healing, as my abode for my own to be, is a matter for which grateful I am. Beyond that plan, do not transgress your father, your brother too do not offend. You are wise as well as beautiful, Enlil to her said. In the Abzu Enki plans was also conceiving where to build his house, where for heroes dwellings to prepare, where the bowels of the earth to enter. In his skyship the extent of the Abzu he measured, its districts he did carefully survey. A distant land the Abzu was, beyond the waters from the Eden it was away, a rich land it was, bursting with riches, perfect in fullness. Mighty rivers rushed across the region, great waters there rapidly flowed, and abode by the flowing waters Enki for himself established. To the midst of the Abzu, to a place of pure waters Enki betook himself. In that land the place of deepness Enki determined for the heroes into, earth's bowels to descend. The earth splitter Enki there established, therewith in the earth a gash to make, by way of tunnels earth's inners to reach, the golden veins to uncover. Nearby that which crunches, and that which crushes he emplaced, the gold-bearing ores to crunch and crush, by skyships to be carried to the landing place in the Cedar Mountains to be brought, therefrom by rocket ships to the way station on Lamu to be transported. On earth more heroes were arriving, some to the Eden were assigned, some in. The Abzu tasks were given. Larsa and Lagash by Enlil were constructed. Shurubak for Ninmah he did establish. With her therein a host of female healers were dwelling, young ones who give succor. In Nibru Ki and Lo a bond heaven earth was assembling. From there all missions to command between Eridu and the Abzu Enki was journeying back and forth for, supervising he went. On Lamu construction was progressing, heroes for the way station were also arriving. A shar, 2 shars were the preparations lasting, then Anu gave the word. On earth the 7th day it was, a day of resting by Enki at the beginning, decreed. At every place the heroes were assembled, a message from Anu from Nibiru. Beam they overheard, in the Aden they were assembled. Enlil was there in command. With him was Ninmah, her host of young ones by her side were assembled. Alaugahu of Eridu was the master was there. Abgahu the landing place, commanded also stood. In the Abzu were the heroes assembled. Under the gaze of Enki they stood. With Enki was his vizier Isimud. Nungal the pilot was there too. On Lahmu the heroes were assembled. With their proud commander Anzu they stood. 600 were on earth, 300 on Lahmu were gathered. In all there were 900. The words of Anu the king they all heard. Heroes of Nibiru, you are the saviors. The fate of all is in your hands. Your success shall for eternity be recorded. By glorious names you shall be called. Those who on earth are shall as Annunaki be known. Those who from heaven to earth came. Those who on Lahmu are, Ijiji shall be named. Those who observe and see, they shall be. All that is required is ready. Let the gold start coming. Let Nibiru be saved. Now this is the account of Enki and Enlil and Ninmah, their loves and espousals, and by their sons the rivalries. Offspring of Anu the 3 leaders were, by different mothers were they born. Enki was the firstborn son. A concubine of Anu was his mother. Enlil by Antu, the spouse of Anu, was born. The legal heir he thus became. Ninmah by another concubine was mothered, a half-sister of the two half. Brothers she was. The firstborn daughter of Anu she was, by her name title Ninmah this was, indicated. Greatly beautiful she was, full of wisdom, one quick to learn. Ea, as Enki then was named, by Anu to espouse Ninmah was chosen, thereby their offspring's son, the legal successor thereafter, to become. Ninmah of Enlil, a dashing commander, was enamored. By him she was seduced. Into her womb his seed he poured. A son from Enlil's seed she bore. Ninurta the two have named him. By the deed was Anu angered. As punishment he Ninmah ever to be espoused. Forbade Ea his bride to be, by Anu's decree abandoned. A princess named Damkina he. Instead espoused a son, an heir to them was born. Marduk they named him, one in a pure place born it meant. As for Enlil, a son not by espousal he had, a spouse by his side to be he did not have. It was on earth, not on Nibiru, that Enlil became espoused. The account of that is one of rape and exile and love that brought forgiveness, and of more sons that were only half brothers. On earth it was summer. To his abode in the cedar forest Enlil retreated. In the cedar forest was Enlil walking in the cool of the day. In a cool mountain stream some of Ninmah's young ones to the landing. Place assigned were bathing. By the beauty and grace of one, Sud was her name, Enlil was enchanted. To his cedar wood abode Enlil her invited. Come, partake with me in the elixir of Nibiru's fruit that grew here. So to her, he said, Sud into Enlil's abode entered. The elixir in a cup to her Enlil presented. Sud drank, Enlil drank too. To her Enlil of intercourse was speaking. Unwilling was the last. My vagina is too little, it knows not copulation. Too, Enlil she was saying. To her Enlil of kissing was speaking. Unwilling was the last. My lips are too small, they know not kissing. To Enlil she was saying. Enlil laughed and embraced her. He laughed and he kissed her. His semen into her womb he poured. To Ninmah, Sud's commander, the immoral deed was reported. Enlil, immoral one, for your deed judgment you shall face. So did Ninmah to Enlil in anger say. In the presence of 50 Annunaki, 7 who judge were assembled, 7 who judge on Enlil a punishment decreed. Let Enlil from all cities be banished to a land of no return. Let him exile be. In a sky chamber they made Enlil leave the landing place. Abgal was its pilot to a land of no return. Enlil was taken never to return. In the sky chamber the two of them journeyed to another land. Was their direction there amidst forbidding mountains at a place of desolation. Abgal the sky chamber landed. This your place of exile shall be. Abgal to Enlil was saying, not perchance have I it chosen. To Enlil he was saying, a secret of Enki in it is hidden. In the nearby cave Enki's 7 weapons of terror has hidden. From Alalu's celestial chariot he had them removed. Take the weapons into your possession. With the weapons your freedom. Attain! So was Abgal to his commander saying, a secret of Enki to Enlil he did. Reveal. Then from the secret place Abgal departed. Enlil alone was there left. In the Eden Sud to Ninmah, her commander, words was speaking. By Enlil's seed am I pregnant. A child of Enlil in my womb has been conceived. Ninmah Sud's words to Enki conveyed the Lord of earth he was on earth. He was supreme. They summoned Sud before 7 who judged. Will you take Enlil as your spouse? They her asked. Words of consent she uttered. The words by Abgal to Enlil in his exile were conveyed. To espouse Sud Enlil from his exile was returned. By that did Enki end. Ninmah to him a pardon give. Enlil's official spouse Sud was declared. On her the name title Ninlil, lady of. The command was bestowed. Thereafter to Ninlil and Enlil a son was born. Nannar, the bright one, Ninlil, him named. He was the first of the Anunnaki on Earth to be conceived, one of Nibiru's royal seed on an alien planet to be born. It was after that that Enki to Ninmah was speaking, "Come be with me in the Abzu. In the midst of the Abzu, in a place of pure waters, an abode have I established. With a bright metal, silver is its name. It is embellished with a deep blue stone, lapis lazuli. It is adorned. Come, Ninmah, be with me. Your adoration of Enlil abandon. To the Abzu, to the abode of Enki, Ninmah then journeyed. Enki there to her words of loving spoke, of how for each other intended. Sweet words to her he whispered. You are still my beloved. To her he said, caressing. He embraced her, he kissed her, she caused his phallus to water. Enki his semen into the womb of Ninmah poured. Give me a son, give me a son, he cried out. She took the semen into her womb, the semen of Enki, her impregnated. 1 day of Nibiru was a month of earth for her. 2 days, 3 days, 4 days of Nibiru, like months of earth they were. 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 days of months were completed. The 9th count of motherhood was completed. Ninmah was in travail. To a child she gave birth. The newborn was a female. On the banks of the river in the Abzu, a daughter to Enki and Ninmah was born. Enki by a daughter was disappointed. Kiss the young one. To him Ninmah said, kiss the young one. Enki to his vizier Isimu said, a son I desire, a son by my half-sister I must have. Again he kissed Ninmah. By her loins he grabbed her, his semen into her womb he poured. Again she was with child. Again a daughter to Enki she bore. A son by you I must have. Enki to her cried out, Ninmah he kissed. Again. Thereupon Ninmah against Enki a cursing uttered. Whatever food he ate was poison in his innards. His jaw hurt, his tooth hurt, his ribs were hurting. Isimu the Anunnaki summoned. To Ninmah for relief they were pleading. To distance himself from Ninmah's vulva, Enki by raised arms swore. One by one she's ailments removed from her curse. Enki was freed. To the Aiden Ninmah returned, never to be espoused. Anu's command was fulfilled. To earth Enki his spouse Damkina with their son Marduk summoned. Ninki, Lady of Earth, the title she was granted. By her and by concubines Enki 5 more sons had. These were their names, Nergal and Jibu, Ninagol and Ningishida and Dumuzi the youngest. To earth Enlil and Ninmah their son Ninurta summoned. By his spouse Ninlil did Enlil 1 more son have. To Nanor a full brother, Ishkur was his name. 3 sons in all did Enlil have. None by concubines were they born. 2 clans were thus on earth established. Their rivalries to wars did lead. Now this is the account of the mutiny of the Ijiji, and how Anzu to death was put for stealing the tablets of destinies. Punished, from the Abzu gold from earth's veins to the landing place was carried, thence Ijiji in rocket ships to the way station on Lamu transported. From the planet Lamu in celestial chariots was the precious metal to Nibiru. Brought on Nibiru was the gold to the finest dust fashion to protect the atmosphere. It was employed. Slowly was the breach in the heavens healing. Slowly was Nibiru saved. In the Aden the 5 cities were perfected. Enki in Eridu a sparkling abode made. Upon soil skyward raised he built it. Like a mountain he raised it above the ground. In a good place he built it. Damkina his spouse therein dwelt. To his son Marduk Enki was their wisdom, teaching. In Nibruki and Lil the bond heaven earth established, a sight to see it was. At its center a heavenward tall pillar the sky itself was reaching. On a platform that cannot be overturned it was placed. There with the words of Enlil all settlements encompassed on Lamu and in Nibiru they were heard. From there beams were raised, the heart of all the lands they could search. Its eyes could scan all the lands. Its net unwanted approach impossible made. In its lofty house a crown-like chamber was the center. To distant heavens it peered. Toward the horizon was its gaze, the heavenly zenith it perfected. In its dark hallowed chamber by 12 emblems was the family of the sun. Marked on these were the secret formulas of sun and moon, Nibiru and earth, and 8 celestial gods recorded. The tablets of destinies in the chamber their hues emitted. With them Enlil all comings and goings oversaw. On earth the Anunnaki toiled, of work and sustenance they were complaining. By Earth's quick cycles they were disturbed. Of the elixir they only small rations were given. In the Aden the Anunnaki toiled. In the Abzu the work was more back-breaking. By teams were Anunnaki sent back to Nibiru. By teams new ones were arriving. The Ijiji on Lamu dwelling were the loudest in complaining. When from Lamu to earth they descend, a rest place on earth they were demanding. With Anu did Enlil and Enki words exchange. The king they consulted, let the leader come to earth. With Anzu have discussions, so did Anu too. Them say, Anzu to earth from the heavens descended. The words of complaints to Enlil and Enki he delivered. Let Anzu of the workings gain understanding. Enki to Enlil was saying, I will the Abzu to him show. You the bond heaven earth to him reveal. To the words of Enki Enlil consented. Enki to Anzu the Abzu did show. The toil and the mines to him he presented. Enlil Anzu to Nibuki invited. To the hallowed dark chamber he led him. Enter. In the innermost sanctuary the tablets of destinies. To Anzu he explained. What the Anunnaki in the 5 cities were doing to Anzu was shown. To the Ijiji who at the landing place were arriving relief he promised. To discuss the complaints of the Ijiji, he to Nibuki then returned. A prince among the princes was Anzu. Of royal seed his ancestry he counted. Evil thoughts filled his heart when to the bond heaven earth he returned. To take away the tablets of destinies was he scheming. Of the decrees of heaven and earth to take control in his heart he was planning. The removal of the Enlil ship in his heart he conceived. To rule Ijiji and Anunnaki was his aim. Unsuspecting Enlil at the entrance to the sanctuary, Anzu let be stationed. Unsuspecting Enlil left the sanctuary. For a cooling swim he went away. With evil purpose Anzu the tablets of destiny seized. In a sky chamber he flew away. To the mountain of the sky chambers he swiftly went. There in the landing place rebellious Ijiji for him were waiting. To declare Anzu king of earth, and Lamu they were preparing. In the sanctuary of Nibiru the brilliance petered out. The humming quieted down. Silence in the place prevailed. Suspended were the sacred formulas. In Nibiru Enlil was speechless. By the treachery he was overwhelmed. To Enki angry words he spoke. Of the ancestry of Anzu he him questioned. In Nibiru the leaders gathered. The Anunnaki who decree fates with Anu were consulting. Anzu must be seized. The tablets to the sanctuary must be returned. Thus did Anu decree. Who shall the rebel face? Who shall the tablets retrieve? The leaders asked each other. With the tablets of destinies in his possession, invincible is Anzu. To each other they were saying. Ninurta by his mother encouraged from the assembled stepped forward. Enlil's warrior I shall be. Anzu I shall vanquish. Thus was Ninurta saying. To the mountainside Ninurta set his course. To vanquish the fugitive Anzu he undertook. Anzu from his hideout Ninurta was mocking. The tablets are my protection. Invincible I am. Lightning darts Ninurta at Anzu directed. The arrows could not approach. Anzu backward they turned. The battle was still. Ninurta's weapons Anzu did not vanquish. Enki then to Ninurta counsel gave. With your whirlwind stir up a storm. Let the dust cover Anzu's face. Let it the wings of his sky bird ruffle. For his son Enlil a mighty weapon fashioned. A Tilu missile it was. To your stormer weapon attach it. When wing to wing near at Anzu shoot it. Thus did Enlil his son Ninurta instruct. When wing to wing near each other. Let the missile fly as a lightning. Again Ninurta in his whirlwind soared. Anzu against him in his skybird rose. To challenge. Wing to wing, Anzu in anger shouted. This battle will be your destruction. Ninurta the advice of Enki followed. With his whirlwind a dust storm he created. The dust Anzu's face covered. The pinions of his skybird were exposed. Into their midst Ninurta the missile let loose. A fiery brilliance Anzu's pinions engulfed. Like butterflies his wings began to flutter. To the ground Anzu came falling. The earth shook, the skies became darkened. The fallen Anzu Ninurta made captive. From him the tablets he retrieved. From the mountaintop the Ijiji were watching. When to the landing place Ninurta came, they trembled and kissed his feet. Ninurta the captive Abgal and Annunaki set free, to Anu and Enlil his victory. He announced. To Nibruki he then returned. In its innermost chamber the tablets were reinstalled. Once again the brilliance therein returned. The hum of Mies in the tablets was restored. Before the seven who judged Anzu for a judgment was taken, Enlil and Ninlil his spouse, Enki and his spouse Ninki, the one beforehand as Damkina known, and the sons Nanar and Marduk were there. Ninma also was in judging. Ninurta of the evil deeds spoke. There was no justification, let death be the penalty, he said. The Ijiji by right were complaining a rest place on earth they do need. Marduk and counter-argued, by his evil deed all the Anunnaki and Ijiji Anzu did in danger, Enlil said. Enki and Ninma with Enlil agreed the evil must be extinguished, they said. To death by execution the seven judged Anzu. With a killing ray Anzu's life breath was extinguished. Let his body to the vultures be left, Ninurta said. Let Huan Lahmu be buried. In a cave next to Alalu be laid to rest, Enki was saying. From the same ancestral seed the two of them were. Let Marduk the body to Lamu carry. Let Marduk there as commander stay. So was Enki to the judges, suggesting. Let it so be, Enlil said. Now this is the account of how Bad Tibira, the metal city, was established, and how in the 40th Shar the Anunnaki and the Abzu mutinied. In the 25th Shar was Anzu judged and executed. The unrest of the Ijiji it subdued but left it simmering. To Lamu Marduk was sent, the spirits of the Ijiji to raise to their well-being pay attention. On earth changes were by Enlil and Enki discussed to avoid unrest on earth. They were considering. The stays on earth are too prolonged to each other, they were saying. Ninma for counsel they asked. By her changing visage they were alarmed. Gold to Nibiru must more quickly flow. Salvation must be faster provided, they all agreed. Ninurta in the innards of planets learned was to his elders words of wisdom. He was saying, let a metal city be established, therein the gold ores to be smelted and refined. Therefrom less weighty cargoes from earth shall be lofted. Each rocket ship more gold could carry. Room for Anunnaki to Nibiru return. There shall be, let the tired to Nibiru return. Let fresh ones on earth replace. Enlil and Enki and Ninma of Ninurta's suggestion were in favor. Anu was consulted and his approval gave. In the Aden was the metal city planned. On that location Enlil did insist. With materials from Nibiru was it constructed. With tools from Nibiru was it equipped. 3 shars of construction lasted. Bad Tibira was it the name given. Ninurta, who made the suggestion, was its first commander. The flow of gold to Nibiru was thereby eased and quickened. Those who to earth and Lamu at the beginning of the prior times had come to Nibiru were returning. Alaugar and Abgal and Nungal among them were. The newcomers who them replaced were younger and eager. To the cycles of earth and Lamu and the other rigors they were not accustomed. On Nibiru, whence they had come, the breach in the atmosphere was healing. The great calamities on the planet and in its heavens, the younger ones did not. No, of their golden mission, excitement, and adventure they especially cherished. As by Ninurta conceived, the ores from the Abzu were delivered. In Bad Tibira they were smelted and refined. By rocket ships to Lamu they were sent. In celestial chariots from Lamu to Nibiru was the pure gold delivered. As by Ninurta conceived, from the Abzu to Nibiru the gold flowed. What was not conceived was unrest by the new-coming Anunnaki, who in the Abzu toiled. Truth be said, Enki to what was brewing heed was not giving. To other matters in the Abzu his attention was directing. With that which in the Abzu grows and lives fascination he acquired, of the differences between what on earth and what on Nibiru appeared he. Wished to learn how maladies by earth's cycles and atmosphere were caused, he wished to uncover. In the Abzu, by the gushing waters, a wondrous study place he erected. With all manner of tools and equipment he furnished it. House of Life he called the place. To it his son Ningishida he invited. Sacred formulas, tiny me's, the secrets of life and death possessing they, shaped the mysteries of living and dying, of earth's creatures they to unravel sought. With some living creatures Enki was especially enamored. They lived among the tall trees, their front legs as hands they were using. In the tall grasses of the steppes, odd creatures were seen, erect they seemed to be walking. Absorbed was Enki in those studies, what was among the Annunaki brewing. He noticed not. First to notice trouble was Ninurta, a lessening of gold ores at Bad Tibira. He observed by Enlil was Ninurta to the Abzu dispatched, what was ongoing to discover. By Annunaki, the chief officer, to the excavations he was accompanied. Complaints of the Annunaki he with his own ears heard. They were backbiting and lamenting, grumbling. In the excavations they were. Unbearable is the toil. To Ninurta they were saying. Ninurta this to his uncle Enki reported. Let us Enlil summon, Enki said. Enlil and the Abzu arrived in a house near the excavations he was stationed. Let us unnerve Enlil in his dwelling. Mind-working heroes shouted. Of the heavy work let him relieve us. Let us proclaim war. With hostilities let us gain relief. Others shouted. The Annunaki in the excavations the words of incitement heeded. To their tools they set fire. Fire to their axes they put. They troubled Annunaki, chief officer of the mining. In the tunnels they him. Seized they held him as they went. To the doorway of Enlil's dwelling they made their way. It was night. Halfway through the watch it was. Enlil's dwelling they surrounded. Their tools as torches they high held. Kalkal, the gateway's guardian, bolted the door, and Nusku aroused. Nusku, Enlil's vizier, roused his lord, got him out of bed, thus saying, My lord, your house is surrounded. Battling Annunaki to your gate came up. Enlil summoned Enki. Enlil Ninurta summoned to his presence. What do my own eyes see? Is it against me that this thing is done? Thus was Enlil to them, saying, Who is of the hostilities the instigator? The Anunnaki stood together. Every single one of us hostilities has declared, excessive is the toil, our work is heavy, great is the distress. So they were too. Enlil saying, Words of the happenings Enlil to Anu beamed. Of what is Enlil accused? Anu inquired. The work not Enlil is the trouble causing. Enki to Anu was saying, The lamentation is heavy. Every day the complaints we could hear. The gold must be obtained. Anu was saying, The work must continue. Release Annunaki for consultations. Enlil to the hostile Anunnaki said. Annunaki was released. To the leaders he was thus saying, Ever since Earth's heat has been rising, the toil is excruciating, unbearable it is. Let the rebels to Nibiru return. Let new ones come in their stead. Ninurta said, Perchance new tools you can fashion? Enlil to Enki said, For the Anunnaki, heroes the tunnels to avoid, let us summon my son Ningishida. Counsel with him I wish to take. Enki thus responded. They summoned Ningishida. From the house of life he came. With him Enki huddled. Words amongst them they exchanged. A solution is possible, Enki was saying. Let us create a Lulu, a primitive worker, the hardship work to take over. Let the being the toil of the Anunnaki carry on his back. Astounded were the besieged leaders, speechless indeed they were. Whoever heard of a being afresh created, a worker who the Anunnakis work can do? They summoned Ninma, one who of healing and succor was much knowing. Enki's words to her they repeated. Whoever of such a thing heard, they her asked. The task is unheard of, she to Enki said. All beings from a seed have descended, one being from another over eons did develop, none from nothing ever came. How right you are, my sister, Enki said, smiling. A secret of the Absu let me to you all reveal. The being that we need, it already exists. All that we have to do is put on it the mark of our essence. Thereby a Lulu, a primitive worker, shall be created. So did Enki to them say, Let us hereby a decision make, a blessing to my plan give, to create a primitive worker by the mark of our essence to fashion him. The sixth tablet. Synopsis of the sixth tablet. To the incredulous leadership, Enki reveals a secret. In the Abzu there roams a wild being akin to the Anunnaki. By augmenting its life essence with that of the Anunnaki, It can be upgraded to be an intelligent primitive worker. Creation belongs to the Father of all beginning. Enlil shouted. We will give our image only to an existing being, Ninmah argued. Badly needing gold to survive, the leaders vote yes. Enki, Ninmah, and Ningishida, Enki's son, begin experiments. After many failures, the perfect model, Adamu, is attained. Ninmah shouts triumphantly, my hands have made it. She is renamed Ninti, Lady of Life, for her achievement. Ninki, Enki's spouse, helps fashion Tiamat, a female earthling. The earthlings, being hybrids, might but do not procreate. Ningishida adds 2 essence branches to their life tree, discovering the unapproved ongoings, and Lil expels the earthlings. The double helix DNA emblem of Ningishida, to create a primitive worker by the mark of our essence to fashion him. So was Enki to the leaders, saying, the being that we need, it already exists. Thus did Enki to them a secret of the Abzu reveal. With astonishment did the other leaders Enki's words hear. By the words they were fascinated. Creatures in the Abzu there are, Enki was saying, that walk erect on 2 legs. Their 4 legs they use as arms. With hands they are provided. Among the animals of the steppe they live. They know not dressing in garments. They eat plants with their mouths. They drink water from lake and ditch. Shaggy with hairs their whole body. Their head hairs like a lion's. With gazelles they jostle. With teeming creatures in the waters they delight. The leaders to Enki's words with amazement listen. No creature like that has ever in the Aden been seen. And Lil, disbelieving, said, aeons ago, on Nibiru, our predecessors like that might have been. Ninmah was saying, it is a being, not a creature. Ninmah was saying, to behold it must be a thrill. To the house of life Enki led them. In strong cages there were some of the beings. At the sight of Enki and the others they jumped up, with fists on the cage bars. They were beating. They were grunting and snorting. No words were they speaking. Male and female they are, Enki was saying. Malehoods and femalehoods they have like us from Nibiru coming. They are procreating. Ningishida, my son, their fashioning essence has tested. Akin to ours it is. Like 2 serpents it is entwined. When therewith our life essence shall be combined, our mark upon them shall be a primitive worker shall be created. Our commands will he understand. Our tools he will handle. The toil and the excavations he shall perform. To the Annunaki in the Abzu relief shall come. So was Enki with enthusiasm, saying, with excitement his words came forth. Enlil at the words was hesitating. The matter is one of great importance. On our planet, slavery has long ago been abolished. Tools are the slaves, not other beings. A new creature, beforehand non-existing, you wish to bring into being. Creation in the hands of the Father of all beginning alone is held. So was Enlil and opposing, saying, stern were his words. Enki to his brother responded, not slaves, but helpers is my plan. The being already exists, Ninmah was saying. To give more ability is the plan. Not a new creature, but one existing more in our image made. Enki with persuasion said, with little change it can be achieved. Only a drop of our essence is needed. A grave matter it is not to my liking, Enlil was saying. Against the rules of from planet to planet journeying it is. By the rules of to earth coming it was forbidden. To obtain gold was our purpose. To replace the Father of all beginning it was. Not. After Enlil thus had spoken, Ninmah was the one to respond. My brother. Ninmah to Enlil was saying, with wisdom and understanding has the Father of all beginning us endowed. To what purpose have we so been perfected, else of it utmost use to make? With wisdom and understanding has the Creator of all our life essence filled. To whatever using of it we capable are, is it not that for which we have been destined? So was Ninmah words to her brother Enlil directing, with that which in our essence was granted. Tools and chariots we have, perfected, mountains with terror weapons we shattered, skies with gold we are healing. So was Ninurta to his birth-giving mother saying, let us with wisdom new tools fashion, not new beings create. Let by new equipments, not by slave beings, the toil be relieved. Whereto our understanding does us lead, to that we have been destined. So was Ningishita saying, with Enki and Ninmah he in agreement was, what knowledge we possess, its use cannot be prevented. Ningishita was saying, destiny indeed cannot be altered. From the beginning to the end it has been determined. To them Enlil was thus saying, destiny it is, or fate it is, that to this planet us has brought, to gold from the water's foil, to put Annunaki heroes, to excavating toil, to a primitive worker create to be. Planning? That, my kinfolk, is the question. Thus with graveness Enlil was saying, is it destiny? Is it fate? That is what deciding requires. Is it from the beginning ordained, or by us for choosing? To put the matter before Anu, they decided. Anu before the council the matter. Presented, the elders, the savants, the commanders were consulted. Long and bitter the discussions were of life and death, fate and destiny. Words were spoken. Can there be another way the gold to obtain? Survival is in danger. If gold must be obtained, let the being be fashioned, the council decided. Let Anu forsake the rules of planetary journeys. Let Nibiru be saved. From Anu's palace the decision to earth was beamed. It Enki delighted. Let Ninmah my helper be. Of such matters understanding she has. Thus was Enki saying. At Ninmah with a longing he was gazing. Let it so be, Ninmah was saying. Let it so be, Enlil did say. By Annunaki was the decision to the Annunaki and the Abzu announced. Until the being is achieved, to the toil willingly you must return, he said. There was disappointment, rebellion there was not, to the toil the Annunaki returned, in the house of life, in the Abzu, how to fashion the being Enki to Ninmah. Was explaining, to a place among the trees Ninmah he directed, a place of cages it was. In the cages there were odd creatures, their likes in the wild no one had seen. Foreparts of one kind they had, hind parts of another creature they possessed, creatures of two kinds by their essences combined to Ninmah Enki was. Showing to the house of life they returned, to a clean place with brightness shining. They led her. In the clean place, Ningishita to Ninmah the life essence secrets was, explaining how the essence from two kinds combined can be. He to her was showing. The creatures in the tree cages are too odd. Monstrous they are, Ninmah was saying. Indeed so, Enki responded, to attain perfection. For that you are needed. How the essences to combine, how much of this, how much of that to put together, in which womb conception to begin, in which womb should the birth be given? For that your succor and healing understanding are needed. The understanding of one who gave birth, who a mother is required. A smile on the face of Ninmah was the two daughters that by Enki she mothered, she well remembered. With Ningishita she surveyed the sacred formulas that on me's were secreted. How this and that were done of him she inquired. The creatures in the tree cages she examined. The two-legged creatures she contemplated. By a male inseminating a female are the essences transmitted. The two entwined strands separate and combine an offspring to fashion. Let a male Annunaki a two-legged female impregnate. Let a combination offspring be born. Thus did Ninmah say, that we have tried, with failures it resulted. To her Enki responded, there was no conceiving, there was no birth. Now this is the account of how the primitive worker was created, how Enki and Ninmah, with Ningishita assisting, the being fashioned. Another way the admixture of essences to attain must be tried, Ninmah was saying, how the two strands of essences to combine another way must be found. That which from the earth is the portion must not be harmed. To receive our essence in graduations it must be shaped. From the Emi formulas of Nibiru's essence, only bit by bit could be. Attempted. In a crystal vessel Ninmah an admixture was preparing, the oval of a female. Two-legged she gently placed. With me Annunaki seed containing, she the oval impregnated, that oval back into the womb of the two-legged female she inserted. This time there was conceiving, a birth was indeed forthcoming. The allotted time for birth giving the leaders awaited. With anxious hearts they results were seeking. The allotted time arrived, there was no birth giving. In desperation Ninmah cutting made that which was conceived with tongs. She drew out. A living being it was. With glee Enki shouted, we attain! Ningishita with joy cried out. In her hands Ninmah the newborn held. With joy she was not filled. Shaggy with hair all over was the newborn, his foreparts like of the earth. Creatures were, his hind parts to those of the Annunaki more kin they were. They let the two-legged female the newborn nurse, with her milk him to suckle. Fast was the newborn growing, what on Nibiru a day was, a month in the Abzu was. Taller the earth child grew, in the image of the Annunaki he was not, his hands for tools were not suited, his speech only grunting sounds was. We must try once more, Ninmah was saying. The admixture needs adjusting. Let me the Misa say, with this or that me make the endeavor. With Enki and Ningishida assisting, they repeated the procedures. The essences in the Emmys Ninmah carefully considered. One bit she took from one bit she took out from another. Then in the crystal bowl the oval of an earth female she inseminated. There was conception. At the appropriate time there was birth giving. This one more in the likeness of the Anunnaki was. They let his birth mother him suckle. They let the newborn to a child grow. Appealing he was by his looks. His hands to hold tools were shapen. His senses they tested. They found them deficient. The earth child could not hear. His eyesight was faltered. Again and again Ninmah rearranged the admixtures of the me formula she took bits and pieces. One being had paralyzed feet. Another his semen was dripping. One had trembling hands. A malfunctioning liver had another. One had hands too short to reach the mouth. One had lungs for breathing. Unsuited, Enki by the results was disappointed. A primitive worker is not attained to. Ninmah, he was saying, what is good or is bad in this being by trials I am discovering. Ninmah to Enki responded, to continue for success my heart prompts me. Once more an admixture she made. Once more the newborn was deficient. Perchance the shortfall is not in the admixture, Enki to her was saying. Perchance neither in the female's oval nor in the essences is the hindrance of what the earth itself is fashioned. Perchance that is what is missing. Not of Nibiru's crystals use the vessel, of the clay of earth make it. So was Enki with great wisdom possessed to Ninmah, saying, perchance what is earth's own admixture of gold and copper is required. Thus was Enki, he who knows things, prompting her to use clay of the Absu. In the house of life Ninmah made a vessel. Of the Absu's clay she made it. As a purifying bath she shaped the vessel within it to make the admixture. Gently into the clay vessel, the oval of an earth female, the two-legged, she put the life essence from an Anunnaki's blood. Extracted she in the vessel placed by the Emmy formulas was the essence directed. Bit by correct bit was it in the vessel added. Then the oval thus fertilized into the womb of the earth female she inserted. There is conception, Ninmah with joy announced, the allotted birth-giving time they awaited. At the allotted time the earth female began to travail. A child, a newborn, was forthcoming. With her hands Ninmah the newborn extracted. A male it was. In her hands she held the child. His image she examined. It was the image of perfection. In her hands she held up the newborn. Enki and Ningishida were present. With joyful laughter the three leaders were seized. Enki and Ningishida were backslapping. Ninmah Enki embraced and kissed. Your hands have made it. Enki, with a gleaming eye, to her was saying, they let the birth-giving mother the newborn suckle quicker than a child on. Nibiru grows he was growing. From month to month the newborn progressed. From a baby to a child he was becoming. His limbs for the task were suited. Speech he knew not. Of speaking he had no understanding. Grunts and snorts were his utterings. Enki the matter was pondering. What was done each step an admixture he considered. Of all that we had tried and changed, one thing was never altered to Ninmah. He was saying, into the womb of the earth female the fertilized oval was always inserted. Perchance this is the remaining obstruction. Thus was Enki saying. Ninmah at Enki gazed. With bewilderment she him beheld. What in truth are you saying? Of him she an answer required. Of the birth-giving womb am I speaking? To her Enki was responding. Of who the fertilized oval nurtures, to birth-giving carries, in our image and after our likeness to be, perchance an Anunnaki womb is. Required. In the house of life there was silence, words never before heard Enki was. Uttering, they gazed at each other, about what in each other's mind they were thinking. Wise are your words, my brother, Ninma at long last was saying. Perchance the right admixture in the wrong womb was inserted. Now where is the female among the Anunnaki her womb to offer? Perchance the perfect primitive worker to create, perchance a monster in her. Belly to carry? So was Ninma with a trembling voice saying, Let me of Ninki, my spouse, of that inquire, Enki was saying. Let us her to the house of life summon the matter before her lay out. He was turning to depart when Ninma put her hand on his shoulder. No, no. To Enki she was saying, the admixtures by me were made, reward and endangerment should be mine. I should be the one the Anunnaki womb to provide, for good or evil fate to face. Enki bowed his head gently, he embraced her. So be it. To her he said, in the clay vessel the admixture they made, the oval of an earth female with Anunnaki male essence they put together, the fertilized egg into the womb of Ninma by Enki was inserted. There was conception. The pregnancy by an admixture conceived. How long will it last? To each other they wondered. Will it be 9 months of Nibiru? Will it be 9 months of earth? Longer than on earth, quicker than on Nibiru. Travail came to a male child. Ninma birth was giving. Enki the boy child held in his hands the image of perfection he was. He slapped the newborn on his hind parts. The newborn uttered proper sounds. He handed the newborn to Ninma. She held him up in her hands. My hands have made it. Victoriously she shouted. Now this is the account of how Adamu by name was called, and how Tiamat as a counterpart female for him was fashioned. The newborn's visage and limbs the leaders carefully examined. Of good shape were his ears, his eyes were not clogged, his limbs were proper, hind parts like legs, fore parts like hands were shaped. Shaggy like the wild ones he was not. Dark black his head hair was, smooth was his skin, smooth as the Anunnaki skin it was, like dark red blood was its color, like the clay of the Abzu was its hue. They looked at his malehood, odd was its shape, by a skin was its forepart, surrounded, unlike that of Anunnaki malehood it was, a skin from its forepart was. Hanging, let the earthling from us Anunnaki by this foreskin be distinguished. So was Enki saying. The newborn to cry was beginning. To her chest Ninma closely drew him. Her breast to him she gave. The breast he began to suckle. Perfection we did attain, Ningishida with elation was saying. Enki at his sister was gazing, a mother and son, not Ninma, and a being he was seeing. A name will you give him? Enki inquired. A being he is, not a creature. Ninma cast her hand upon the newborn's body, with her fingers his dark red skin she caressed. Adamu I shall call him, Ninma was saying. One who like earth's clay is. That will be his name. For the newborn Adamu a crib they fashioned, in a corner of the house of life they placed him, a model for primitive workers we have indeed attained. Enki was saying, now a host of workers like him are needed. Ningishida his elders reminded, a model indeed he shall be, as for himself, like a firstling he shall be treated, from toil he himself shall be protected, his essence alone as a mold shall be. So was Enki saying, by his decree Ninma was greatly pleased. Whose wombs henceforth the fertilized ovals shall carry? Ningishida was asking. The leaders the matter pondered. Ninma a solution offered. From her city Shubak Ninma female healer summoned. The task required. To them she explained. To the crib of Adamu she led them, the newborn earthling to perceive. To perform the task is not a commandment. Ninma to them was saying, your own wish is the decision. Of the female Anunnaki assembled, 7 step forward, 7 the task. Accept it. Let their names for all time be remembered. Ninma to Enki was saying, their task is heroic. By them a race of primitive workers shall come into being. The 7 step forward, each one her name was announcing. The names. Ningishida recorded. Ninima, Shuziana, Ninmada, Ninvara, Ninmug, Musardu, and Ninguna. These were the names of the 7 who by their own wish birth mothers were. to be earthlings in their wombs to conceive and bear, primitive workers to create. In 7 vessels of the clay of the Abzu made, Ninma ovals of the 2-legged female's place, the life essence of Adamu she extracted, bit by bit in the vessels she had inserted. Then in the malapart of Adamu an incision she made, a drop of blood to let out. Let this a sign of life be, that flesh and soul have combined, let it forever proclaim. She squeezed the malapart for blood, 1 drop of blood in each vessel to the admixture she added. In this clay's admixture, earthling with the Annunaki shall be bound. Thus was Ninma saying, an incantation she was pronouncing. To a unity shall the 2 essences, one of heaven, one of earth, together be brought. That which is of earth and that which is from Nibiru by a blood kinship shall be bonded. So was Ninma pronouncing her words. Ningishida also recorded. In the wombs of the birth-giving heroines the fertilized ovals were inserted. There was conception. With anticipation was the allotted time counted. At the allotted time birth-givings were occurring. At the allotted time 7 male earthlings were born. Their features were proper, good sounds they were uttering by the heroines. They were suckled. 7 primitive workers have been created, Ningishida was saying. Let the procedure be repeated. 7 more to toil to undertake, my son. To him Enki was saying, not even 7 by 7 sufficient shall be. Of heroine healers too much is required. Forever their task this way shall be. Indeed the task is too demanding. Slow beyond enduring it is. Ninma too them said, female ones we have to fashion, Enki was saying, for male's counterparts to be. Let them know each other, as one flesh the 2 to become. Let them by themselves procreate, on their own the childbirthing make. To primitive workers by themselves give birth, Annunaki females to relieve. The me formulas you must change, from male to female adjustment make. So did Enki to Ningishida say, for a counterpart to Adamu to be fashioned in the womb of an Annunaki. Female conception is needed. So did Ningishida to his father Enki in responding say. Enki at Ninma, his gaze directed. Before she could speak, he raised his hand. Let me this time, Ninki, my spouse, summon. With strong voice he said, if she is willing, let her the mold for the female earthling create. They to the Abzu, to the house of life, Ninki summoned. They showed her Adamu. All that matters to her they explained. Of the task that is required they gave explanations. Of success and danger too. Her an account gave. By the task Ninki was fascinated. Let it be done, she to them said. By the me formulas Ningishida adjusting made by the admixture was an oval fertilized into the womb of his spouse Enki. It inserted with much care he did it. There was conception. In the allotted time Ninki was in travail. A birth there was not. Ninki the months counted. Ninma the months counted. The 10th month, a month of evil fates, they began to call. Ninma the lady whose hand wombs has opened with a cutter and incision made. Her head was covered. On her hands protection she wore. With dexterity the opening she made. Her face at once was brightened. That which in the womb was from the womb came forth. A female birth was given. To Ninki with joy she shouted. The newborn's visage and limbs they carefully examined. Of good shape were her ears. Her eyes were not clogged. Her limbs were proper. Hind parts like legs. Fore parts like hands were shaped. Shaggy she was not. Like beach sands was the hue of her head hair. Her skin smooth was, as that of the Annunaki in smoothness and color it was. Ninma the girl child held in her hands. She slapped her hind parts. Proper sounds the newborn uttered. To Ninki, the spouse of Enki, she the newborn handed, to be suckled, nourished, and raised. A name will you give her? Enki of his spouse inquired. A being she is, not a creature. In your image she is, and after your likeness perfectly she is fashioned. A model for female workers you have attained. Ninki cast her hand upon the newborn's body. With her fingers her skin she caressed. Tiamat let her name be, the mother of life, Ninki was saying. Like the planet of old, of which the earth and the moon were fashioned, let her be called. From her womb's life essences other birth givers shall be molded. To a multitude of primitive workers she thereby life will be giving. Thus was Niki saying, the others' words of concurring uttered. Now this is the account of Adamu and Tiamat.